introduce his film with Cara Magsanok. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Raimundo. From Call Her Ganda, the producer is Cara Magsanok Halifala and the director, PJ Raval. Before we begin, I really just want to take the time to thank a few people to, because this is a very important moment. So first of all, I want to thank everyone at Cinemalaya for inviting us and inviting the film. It's quite an honor to be the opening night of the docu-section. So thank you for that. I also want to thank a filmmaker who's here in the audience, Nick De Ocampo. Nick, where are you? I really want to thank Nick because Nick is actually the person who initially invited me to come to Manila and screen some of my work. And during that trip is when I heard the story of Jennifer Laude and I met several of the players involved, and that's where the film really came together. So I really thank Nick for being that instigator, right? But I do also want to thank the people who worked on this film and made this film possible, because for many of you who don't know, it's really impossible to make a film by yourself. You really need a lot of people. So thankfully I worked with some really amazing people, and I'd love to call them up to the stage if you can hold that for a minute. But field producers Tony Macalino and Dave Lobman. Come on down. Additional photographers Leila Busani and Kay Plummer. Social media archivist and production assistant Rod Singh. And I don't know if they're here, but Ethel and Pio Fortuna, who are two of the translators. You can come on down also. And now, of course, we would be nothing with this film if it weren't for the amazing people who actually let us capture their stories and put them on screen. So I really want to bring a couple people down. Naomi Fontanos, attorney Virginia Suarez, and Mary Lou Laude. All right, so unfortunately, Nanay, Jennifer's mother, and her sister Michelle could not, here we go, could not join us today because they're not feeling well. So I would love to dedicate today's screening to Jennifer and the Laude family, and make sure we keep them in our hearts. All right, sorry, I'm gonna move over to this side. But also this film that you'll see, it's not only just the story of the people who are here on stage. It's the story of a lot of people, who covered the story, who spent a lot of hours, posting social media and everything like that. And I think we'd love to thank a few of those people right now.
We have nothing but gratitude in our hearts for everyone who helped us. First of all, for everyone who chose to come here today and battle traffic. Thank you for coming. Thank you personally. I couldn't do it in the Oscars or Tribeca, so thank you, my dad, Nondi, Ariana, Gina, Nico, all my relatives, Tita Ned, my Jimenez Magsano Kalipana family, my friends from I Can Serve Foundation, from storytellers, everyone, all the artistas, Agod, May, all of you, thank you for coming. A lot of you. GR, thank you. Philippine Daily Choir. Thank you to our friends in the media for lending footage. UNTV Erin Tanyana, thank you for giving it for free. Thank you. Meant a lot. Yeah, Erin is here. And thank you to Army Bennett. Army, thank you, CNN. All out support. There are 15 people here today from CNN. Thank you. Thank you to ABS-CBN and ANCX, Jerome Gomez. Thank you for leading that. Thank you to GMA7, Mr. Duamit. Thank you to, who else? There's so many of you. I hope I don't forget anyone. But I also want to thank PJ. Our team is actually from Canada and the US and the Philippines. And I'm sad they're not here today, but most of the core team members are Phil-Am. Like Marty Sihuko, Lisa Svensson, Meredith Telusan, Seth Ronquillo, and they're desperately eager to learn more about their heritage. and they sincerely want to make positive changes in their other mother country. So they kind of snapped me out of my cynicism when they told me to join the team for this story, because I'm so used to the fact that stories like this end up with an exchange of hands, exchange of money, or someone gets a US visa, it gets swept under the rug. I'm not judging those who chose that option or were bullied into that option, but I do have a lot of admiration for the Laude family for standing against a superpower. It's the first time it's ever happened. Salamat kayo, Laude. Ang tapang-tapang niyo po. Maraming salamat sa inyo. I hope we have half the courage of that family to battle bullies and people we think who are not doing what's right. Anyway. And I'd like to thank the LGBT community. Kudos to them. This issue galvanized them and it sparked the movement, right? And I think they can build on all the gains of this for other advocacy issues, including the SOGI bill. We're right behind you on that. Congratulations to all of you. And thank you to all the groups that stood by the LGBT organizations, human rights groups, women's groups, anti-imperialism groups, groups led by you. Thank you very much for that. You need everyone, really, and this is what happens when you all get together. When you watch the movie, it is heavy, it is overwhelming, there's so much going on, so many layers, but in the end, if you just want to break it down, it's really about respect and kindness. It's really all about that. If there's someone you don't like, someone you don't agree with, you don't kill that person. You just talk about it. Talk and talk. Okay, ang dami ng layers. But I stop myself. Really, it's all about that. And I mean, I don't know what it's like to lose a daughter in a brutal way, and I don't want to ever imagine. But I know what it's like to lose a mom, and for the family to transform their pain into something that's changing the history of the country, it's really awesome. Naku, malo yung ginawa niyo, sobra. Sobra, wala kayong idea. And up to this day, they're still battling for justice. It's a long uphill climb still for them. The case is still on appeal, but they've turned down every generous offer that came their way, any temptation. And they've been through so much psychological torture, mental torture. They've endured that and still continue to endure that. So let's stand by them. And thank you again. I hope you like the film, and I hope you do something about it, even in your own little way. Respect and kindness, even just that. Thank you.
Last thing before we start the film, I really want to thank everyone for being here today. But also, after you see the film, if you think it's important, if you think it's something that someone else should see and know the story of Jennifer Laude and the Laude family, please, we could use your help with sharing the film, liking the Facebook page, getting the word out, because the more people see this film, I think the more that the issues that we're talking about will get out there, and hopefully it will inspire people to do something. And partially the reason I made this film was because when I visited and I saw all the movement that was happening, I was very inspired by it, because I think if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere, right? So thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoy the film. Fontana's Marie Laude.
We'd also like to call her Miss Malu Laude, the sister of Jennifer Laude. We'd also like to acknowledge Harry Roque. You see him present in the house?
Oh, yes.
Who happens to be also in my own team. So we'd like to ask the first question. Would anybody have a question? We'd like to call in Ms. Cara Alikpala, Ms. Naomi Fontanas of Ganda, Filipinas. Miss Naomi, Cara, PJ, Virgie, and Malu to come up, and then Attorney Harry Roque. the obvious question, we're going to also talk to the director. First is, what would you like the people watching to take away from this movie?
I mean, I hope when people watch this movie that they see what I saw, which is why I wanted to make this into a film, which was, I was really inspired by seeing all these people from different communities coming together and fighting for their voices to be heard and fighting for some kind of social change. And I think that is something, right now we're living in a time where I think everyone would agree all around the world, politically, just culturally, socially, there's a lot going on and there's a lot that needs to change. And so for me, this was a really shining example of how something was made possible. And despite all the odds, you know, people showed up and they turned out, and I think it's just a really great example of what can be accomplished.
And the next question, I'd like to talk to the sister, Malu. This is your first time to see the documentary, yes?
Yes po.
So, I'm sure a lot of us are wondering here, what do you think about it just saw?
Ang hirap magsalita. This is my first time no, na manood ng documentary. Then, ang tagal na po talaga. So, parang nalimutan na lahat ng trauma, ng sakit, and then, natapos ko yung napanood natin, bumalik lahat. Ang hirap ulit. Ewan. Hindi ko inaasahan na ganun pala lahat. Maraming suporta, maraming tumulong, maraming nagalit din. Pero sa kabila noon, nagpapasalamat pa rin ako kahit hindi man sapat, hindi man lubos na matanggap. Pero kahit papaano, may justice pa rin sa kapatid ko. Isa na lang, sana matapos na may bigay na yung para sa kapatid ko. Na yun lang naman ang hinihiling ng lahat. Hindi lang sa pamilya namin, kundi sa lahat ng naagrabyado ng Amerikano, sa lahat ng mga dinanas mula sa Amerikano. Yun lang naman po ang hinihiling ng bawat isa, na mabigyan po ng justice o yung karapatang pantao maibigay man lang sa atin. So yun lang po. Hindi ko pa kaya. Ang hirap pala. Pero natutuwa ako sa mga nagawa ni Ma'am Meredith. Kung nandito lang po sana siya, magpapasalamat ako sa kanya ng personal. And then sa director, Sir PJ, na na-covered niya from the start till now. Sa dalawa po naming attorney, si Attorney Virgie, and then finally nakita ko ulit si Attorney Harry kasi since 2014, then now 4 years ago, ngayon lang ulit. Name-mental block pa ako, sorry ha. Pwedeng pass ulit? Mag-inhale lang.
Please take your time. But also we'd like to direct the audience, if they have any questions they'd like to ask any of the producers, whether about the process or the current legalities of the case, what's happening right now. If anybody's a question? Okay, move on.
My question's for PJ. Because compared to your past films like Trinidad and Before You Know It, which also had LGBT themes, this is a bit different. I read in an interview that it was a homecoming that spurred interest in the case. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm wondering how this differs, how your journey with this film differs from the past, from other films. I think Meredith encountered a question from Naomi where there was a confluence of her heritage as her Filipino heritage also becoming an influence in how she viewed the case. I'm wondering how that influenced you also.
Yeah, so I've made previous films before, and it does feature mostly the LGBTQ plus community. This is the first time I've dealt with anything in the Philippines or Filipino subject matter. And so for me, it was really important because it is part of me, right? I'm Phil M, so I grew up in the United States, and I knew very little about the Philippines growing up. And I know firsthand, going through the school system, that Americans are not really taught a whole lot about the United States. Certainly we're not taught about the effects of imperialism and colonization, right? I think we're taught to believe that the United States saved the Philippines, right, from Spain, and then again from Japan. And so for me, it was really important to make this film because I saw it also as an opportunity for me to just connect to my cultural heritage. But what's interesting is when this first came about, I wasn't sure if I was going to be the right person to make this film. And I thought, oh, maybe someone here in the Philippines, someone on the ground, someone already, maybe a trans activist should make this film. Maybe not me. But I think the more that I spoke to everyone here on stage, I think the more I got comfortable with the idea and realized as a Filipino American, maybe I should be making this film because I know who needs to see this film, and I know what this film could do in terms of getting this story out, just in terms of informing myself. And I think that is something that made me realize I do have a unique perspective in that idea. And also, as an American, I should be really thinking about what my government does, right? And thinking about how accountability on that side, but also as an American, using my own privilege as an American and the resources that I do have available to me to be able to make this film and hopefully contribute in that way.
The entire team for telling the story of Jennifer Laude in such a very profound and strong way in this film. Thank you so much. And watching it right now is very timely for us, especially from the LGBT community, as we fight for the anti-discrimination bill to be passed in the Senate. So we have limited time in the Senate for the bill to be heard. So I would like to ask Attorney Harry Roque if there's a sentiment from Malacanang regarding the SOGI equality bill. Thank you.
Well, I can easily answer that. I am a principal author of the SOGI bill when I was in Congress. A proud co-author to Congresswoman Romani. But I have two news. Actually, the film was finished probably prior to the decision of the Court of Appeals, so the appeal process is over. He's lost the appeal process. But he's gone up to the Supreme Court, which is no longer a matter of right. So he is now to be addressed as a convicted felon. So the procedure is optional for the court. I do not even know. We've not received any notice from the Supreme Court asking us to file any pleading. We did file the pleadings where the appeal was pending in the Court of Appeals, independent of the Solicitor General. So the legal status is it's a complete victory. It's a far shot, I think, that the Supreme Court will overturn a conviction of the Regional Trial Court as affirmed by the Court of Appeals. Second update is the President gave a second personal assistance to Mrs. Laude. The not so good news is that friends of the U.S. authorities are lobbying intensely now to free Mr. Pemberton. And I don't know if they will succeed, but I'm hoping that they will not. But the lobby is very strong to release him. The Soji bill, I was a principal author in the House.
So what's
And we
the
passed
update?
it with Congresswoman Romano. I'm not in the Senate. I believe, though, that from what news I've gathered, that it also has support in the Senate.
But what about the president? Do you think
The president is not opposing Soji. He has made it very clear that he is in fact for the same-sex civil union provision of Soji. What he went against is same-sex marriage, but Soji does not legalize same-sex marriage. It is recognizing civil unions between its same-sex, which the president supports.
Is there a
Sorry, can we just clarify that? There is a different bill filed in Congress for civil partnerships, which is separate from the Soji Equality Bill. And a bill, the Civil Partnerships Act has no version at the Senate. But the Soji Equality Bill in Congress was already approved last year. And so our battle now is in the Senate. And there are no provisions in the Soji Equality Bill about same-sex marriage, marriage equality, or civil partnerships.
That's right, that's right. I recognize that. No? But the president, as I reiterate, supports recognizing civil unions between same-sex but not same-sex marriage.
And with that, we'd like to thank everybody.